to screen printing.
Okay.
That.
Cool. Man. So, everyone, thank you for checking out Conversations at Hotel Charlie. I would say, like, to really sum up what we do is we have conversations with amazing people that we've come across, and we get to know them, not just for their craft, but learn a lot more about them as a person, because all the people that I've had come through and all the people that I hope come through in the future is definitely where I'm a fan first, you know? So today we have one of the most interesting and amazing people that I've come across. Definitely like on the top 10 list. And we have Koysun here. Say hello to the world.
Hello world.
Yeah, so...
Can I get I'd like room 206. I'm checking in.
Oh, at Hotel Charlie?
Yeah, hotel. Do you have any rooms available?
Close. 260.
260?
But we only have one room. And this is it. And it's not too big. And it's not too small. It's just right. But, no, thank you so much for coming through. So, you know, like, how can you explain... Well, what did you do today?
What did I do today?
Yeah.
I woke up at 5:30.
Dang, you wake up that early?
Yeah. I usually I wake up that early just because I don't work well at night, and so I wake up at 5:30. Sometimes I shower, and then from there I head over to my workplace, Daly's workshop, around 7:30.
That's crazy. Wait, so you guys start like early?
Yeah, Johnny and I.
Yeah.
The rest of the crew come in around 8 to 9 ish.
Okay.
But the reason I come in at 7 is just to kind of like help prepare and just make sure that when the crew get here, like everything runs smoothly. Just because you know how long it takes to set up screens and everything, especially when it's like a 6-color.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
A lot harder than people imagined.
Yeah, and so
registration and
exactly. And if they need screens, we burn screens.
Yeah.
And so it's just by the time they get here, rather than waiting.
Oh, it's all set up.
It's all set up, and so they just go straight to work.
Oh damn! So you guys are like not messing around. Like as soon as they get in, they're like.
Yeah, exactly. And so it also helps just because, again, I'm a morning person. I don't work, but I know for you work late in the night because you have family and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but because I had the choice, I go to sleep around 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I try to.
Okay, so, well, I mean, I want to hear about your day, but like, how do you create all that stuff? Like, because you're like a pretty busy guy. Like, I mean, well, I guess we can get into that later, but no, it's amazing. Like, you do a lot of crazy artwork and all that stuff, and that's not even part of the day that you're even talking about yet.
Yeah.
And you've already done all this stuff in the morning. I would have taken a nap already.
I did take a nap before I got here.
Yeah.
For things like that, I have to make sure that I try my best to not take a nap.
Yeah.
Just because
it might go into like hibernation.
Yeah, my schedule will go off and things like that, and then my mornings will get harder.
Yeah.
And it's just like it adds up, and so I shut down for myself. I try my best to shut down on dailies by 2 p.m.
Oh, okay.
And then from 2 to 10, I usually either go take care and like spend time with Gwen, or like go spend time with family. I try my best 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then from there, in between those times, whether it's like waiting for Gwen to get out of work, or waiting on my family to come see me, I try to do client work stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's like I'm always carrying around my laptop, and that's when I'm working on like whatever people need me to do. The only thing that so far that I've had to sacrifice within those hours is just a lot of my handwork. I haven't been able to do a lot of large hand-drawn illustrations.
Yeah.
Just because I need to be in my studio for that. But because I'm never home anymore, it's a little bit like harder to
So you're spreading yourself a little thin.
Yeah, the thing I'm sacrificing is a lot of the analog artwork that I do.
So, man, that's crazy. Like, well, first of all, when we're talking about like what you're doing and stuff, you're doing stuff at Daly's workshop, which is screen printing. What do you call that? Like a screen printing. It's almost like a screen printing experiment too, like a screen printing company. But you guys are also doing a lot of community stuff. Like if you're in San Diego, there's a good chance people saw you guys pop up where you guys are doing the, like, what do you call that? Pop up t-shirt. Yeah, live screen printing. I don't know why I can't think of that word.
It's all good.
But yeah, you guys have been doing that, and like I've been seeing you guys like killing it, like all over the place. And you guys also film these really like silly commercials. I happened to see one today where you came on a dolly, and then that was pretty funny. So like he was on a dolly, almost like a robot or something, and he comes up, and then like they prop him up, and you see his shirt, and it's a flyer. Like there's a flyer on his shirt with all the information, and then he turns around, and then it's like where it's at and all the stuff and the times and everything, and then they put him back on the dolly and roll him away. I was like, that's how you know you're messing with the artist, because they got some wild and crazy thoughts in their head, right? Like that probably came normal to you. Right?
Yeah, it's I guess to explain to the people that don't know, it's basically I work at Daly's workshop. We start as a screen printing business, so we print shirts for clients that need them. It's like we've printed for Locals Only, we've printed for Travelers Club, but we've also printed for like more non like streetwear related brands, like dentists and SDSU students. But we're trying, like, the screen printing is just to get funding to one day build like the workshop part. So the Daly's workshop part of it is screen printing, but we're trying to build towards it to where people can actually come in and work with us personally, and be able to create work. Like I want to get a letterpress machine, I want to get a laser cutter, CNC, like I want to get all the equipment to where like we can make shirts, but we can also build a lot
like
of
make
things.
anything.
Yeah,
all the things, like as a artist, especially like a what do you call that, like branding, like a branding type artist, all the things you've ever imagined of having or having access to, that would be the end goal, like from what you guys would have, huh?
Yeah, it's how I got into it, just because working out of a garage right now, there isn't a lot of payment. And so like the payment, like not even for the owner Johnny, he doesn't really get payment because all the money that we get funneled in goes straight to the shop.
Well, I mean, the equipment's amazing. It's really good stuff,
and we're still building more.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see it. Like, I don't know. I mean, like as a screen printer, when I see it, I see what you guys are doing, and it's really amazing. Like,
appreciate it.
Hats off to you, but it's super dope,
But yeah, that's what I do in the morning.
Yeah, so then I know that's a big part of like what you're doing now, but like if you could explain who Koysun is, like how can you explain that? Because I mean, I know you as all these different things, and like in my mind, I would describe you as like definitely a creative, but you're like a sign painter, you're also an illustrator, you're also now a screen printer, a dancer, a clothing designer, and ultimately just a really good dude. Like, I don't know, there's something special about your artwork, that I saw, and then when I met you, I was really blown away and like a true fan of your work.
I appreciate it.
That's why I'm super excited to have you here. But like, how would you describe yourself? Because I mean, that's just what I see.
In terms of to simplify, just because whenever I meet new people, it's hard to explain all that. it's the same way as if like saying like, oh, where are you from? It's like a lot of places.
Yeah.
For me, I just simplify it to like I'm an illustrator and lettering artist.
Okay.
That's basically because it's what I see as like a viable career, and that's like kind of like the core. And then all those other things like dance and sign painting and screen printing kind of like embellish.
Like toolbox things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say like in the Koysun toolbox, you have all these other things that you're able to do.
Yeah.
But the core of it is an illustrator and
lettering artist.
Lettering artist.
It's what I know most about. It's illustration. It's spending time studying perspective and like color theory and shape and like texture. And then there's like lettering where it's like just understanding how a group of an alphabet is put together and their relationship to one another. It's what I like invested a lot of time into, and so that's what I call myself. Yeah.
Do you like? So how long have you been doing that?
Illustration. A kid, whatever. Lettering, I started senior year of high school, which I think is like 5 years ago now.
Wow.
5 or 6 years ago. I don't remember.
Did you go into the avenue of like through street art, or you did? So
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because I've always been curious. Like most people, they had like little graffiti type.
Yeah.
That's how they kind of got into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's being Thai first, then American.
Yeah.
Coming into the States, it was hard to assimilate into the U.S. culture, and so discovering, being raised in South Carolina in the East Coast, I met a group of. I lived in like a Cambodian community,
okay,
and they introduced me to hip hop. So like they were b-boys, some were graffiti artists, things like that. None of them spun or anything, but it's like it's like the general like hype during the time with like Step Up and everything.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, like I got into tagging just because, I didn't know how to dance. I was uncomfortable to do that.
Yeah.
And I already like drew anime and everything else, and so I just transitioned to doing like hand styles and things like that.
That's cool, because one thing about like what you do, maybe it has to do with like your eye from being in the South, is that you have a really good eye for like vintage typography. I see the things that like you're attracted to, as far as like restaurant signs and things like that, and they're super old school. Like, do you have a preference for that? Like,
it comes from a lot of. My dad's a collector.
Oh, okay.
He ever since I was a kid, he would collect tin toys. A lot of the tins that I have for holding my enamel paints actually come from him. And so growing up, he had like Gundam figurines. He had like a bunch of horror movie. Like he had a like Freddy Krueger figurine. He had like the complete Simpsons McDonald's set during the time. Yeah.
Damn. So he's like a collector. Like damn. So like what do you call that? Like he would be like on one of those shows,
Yeah, I used to call him a hoarder, but then someone corrected me. It's like, oh, you don't know hoarding. Like hoarding is like to the point where it's like
anything,
a danger to your health.
Yeah.
So my dad, like, he has a lot of stuff,
but it all has meaning.
Yeah, and it's all like it's a collection because it all like aesthetically like comes together.
Does he still collect?
Yeah.
Okay, can you go home and then go get him and have him on the show?
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm just joking. like what?
No, for sure. Like, well, I'll just leave and then it'll just be about him.
About him and his collector toys?
It's like Koysun. It's like Koy's dad featuring Koysun.
Yeah. Yeah, the son Koy.
Yeah.
That's sick though. So, like seeing all that stuff kind of really like trained your eyes, huh?
Yeah, it trained my eye and it got me into the vintage route.
Yeah.
But another part of it was that for me, I always believed in learning from old masters and stuff like that. It's I'm really into the vintage aesthetic.
Yeah.
But part of me also believes that how people did it back then easily translate to what people do now, which is like Supreme is just like contemporary version of Barbara Kruger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just like how she did it with her own like photo, like exposure thing. It's just like it's the aesthetic started there, and like Supreme just kind of like cleaned it up.
Yeah, just repackaged it for skaters. And
yeah, and people see Supreme not as like a vintage thing, but it's like
it actually
the typeface. I think it was like Futura that they use or something. I don't think they use Futura now, but like I know with Barbara Kruger she used that typeface a lot, and that like goes all the way back to like metal. And so I illustration, everything. When I was really into studying drawing, I would go to like the prints and drawing section of museums and look at old Renaissance sketchbooks. Those are like, that's like the shit that like really helped me out, because how they did it and how they saw things was helps kind of like show me how to draw now.
So you definitely have like a respect for those that came before you.
Yeah.
And what you do.
Yeah. And so because I look at old vintage type all the time, my lettering always translates to like, oh, it's like kind of like retro, but I want to transition to where like all the stuff that I know now and like all the history hopefully will one day culminate to something more where people won't look at it as like, oh, that's kind of like retro, but it's like
modern vintage.
I was like, what the like that's weird. Like the Koysun shirt that you're wearing right now, it's it came from I think a sign painting style that I saw somewhere.
Yeah, like I love the K.
Yeah.
And then also this line on the Y.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like the way your brain works to do that.
Yeah.
Is like really dope, because I would have just dropped the Y and never did that.
Yeah.
Or maybe like a loop or something basic, I guess. You know what I mean? And like when I see that, I was like, damn, there's just something about it, the sizing and the spacing and everything, that I really appreciate the eye for it and the way you did it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think when I first saw it, I told you like, dude, that's really dope. Like when I saw you and you did the line art for it, I was like, that's amazing. You know, and I'm super honored to have this. Like,
hey, it's cool to walk into you wear it, and I'm here wearing Human Catalyst.
Oh yeah,
it's just the exchange. It's a community.
Yeah, but no, that's super cool.
With that, it was legit. Just I saw, I think it was like Copenhagen Signs or something. They did the slash across the Y, and so I just took that and then made it so to where, because usually in brush lettering, everything the stem or the vertical stroke, the vertical stroke down is always thick, and then when you stroke up, it's thin.
Yeah.
And so I just flipped it to where any horizontal line is super thick, and then anything close to vertical is thinner. And so if you look at it, the sides of the O is thin, but then the tops are thick. And then I just
that's true, huh?
And that's why the Y, the slash on the Y is so fat. It's because it's like that's like the set width.
Yeah, so it's like literally a flip of like the rules, like, but that's why it looks correct too, because you're following the rules. You're just doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, just tweaking.
Yeah, you just gave away the secrets.
I can go on tangents about this all the time, which is why the honesty thing that we're going to get into and everything, that's all kind of like, we can always get into that later or now, whatever.
Yeah, so, like I was asking you kind of some of the things that you wanted to hit. I just wanted to make sure that, I guess for all the guests that come on, I have a thing where like I ramble on, you know what I mean? And I could talk to you about, who knows, like I can talk forever. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that like I cover just some of the topics that you would most likely want people to hear or remember about you. And like one of the things you said was like what, art and honesty, is that?
Yeah.
And like, can you explain that?
Yeah. So I guess just to give like basic, I started in tagging, then I lived in like this small school in Bowling Springs, South Carolina, where the most exciting thing was a new gas station. And then from there, I transferred to an art school. It's South Carolina Governor's School for the Arts and Humanities, where I discovered Neil Summerer, who runs a type foundry called Positype, and he was the one that kind of introduced me from tagging to like more of like the professional, like, well, like graffiti tagging is professional too, but the more sterile, like, typography culture,
like less street, more commercial,
more commercial, more like
possible to make money,
yeah,
versus street credibility.
And so that's him. And I think what he told me, Neil, was no matter what you make, just, you know, don't bullshit about it.
Yeah.
It's being in an art school, there isn't just like graphic designers, painters and sculptors and everything. And one of the things that you run into a lot, especially with students, is they'll make something and then they'll be like, oh, there's like all this meeting or like every other thing. And sometimes it's like, if you made something just because it's aesthetically pleasing, then just say like, oh, I made this because I thought it looked cool. Not like, or be like, I started off with making this because I thought it looked cool, but as I was building, I noticed like, oh, it kind of reminded me of this or reminded me of that. But for the most part, like, him telling me like, oh, like, just don't bullshit, like, be honest with yourself and be honest with your audience. It's the most important part, because otherwise, like, people can see the dishonesty. Like, when you start combining school with art, then it's like when you see art as homework, people procrastinate and then they don't do the work. And so like the day before critique, they try to build something on the spot and then they put it down, and it's like, it's hard to talk about because you don't think it's very interesting, and then you kind of like watch them kind of scramble to find whatever they're trying to look for. And then it's just like it's like this big pile of mess, and it's like yeah, I can kind of see like you know, they'll put in a Coke can or something and be like, oh, it's about consumerism. It's like, yeah, I can see it, but there's no like pathway that they kind of built for us to kind of get to that idea. I think that might be a bit of a tangent, but that kind of like started off what I thought mattered to me in terms of being a creative, is that like anything I made, I wanted to make sure that I was honest to myself, that I wanted to make it, and any meaning involved, like, I wanted it to be like honest to me, basically honest to me, so it's honest to other people. That really blows my mind, because
like when I hear that, right, like I can't help but like hear that message, even how it applies to me, especially like as a clothing brand. A lot of times you think to yourself like, damn, I need to sell some stuff. What would people want?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like, what do I want to make that's truthful to me and what I enjoy?
Yeah.
Or am I going to make stuff that I think others might like and I'm just lying to myself?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know, that kind of hits home with me, because a lot of times I see like brands that are like popping off, you know, and it's like, yeah, but I don't want to do like brain waves and, you know what I mean, like all that stuff, unless I could flip it in a way that like I was really proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can easily get distracted going down that route.
Yeah.
And then I also hear people when they explain their art and like, oh, I used a triangle because the triangle represents like, you know, my dog, my sister, and you know what I mean? And like, you're like, okay, you know, like no one's gonna get that.
Yeah.
One thing that I appreciate when I hear that, at first when you told me art and honesty, I didn't really understand. But then now through your work, I see that a lot. Every piece that I've seen from you, you had a detailed message of like what it meant to you, why you did it, and it just made the message so much clearer and how special it was.
Yeah.
Even just seeing the words, I realized like, damn, this like that's amazing. I totally appreciate like you taking that extra step to let the people know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would definitely say like, yeah, you seem like it's very honest to you. Like there's a lot of meaning, and I think it translates well into your art. That as the viewer sees it, like they definitely appreciate it. I know I do. Like I could tell how much care, how much thought went into it.
Yeah.
Like it's dope.
That's really good to hear, because it's mainly all I'm trying to look for, and it's like, you know, there's honesty to the audience, but when you're honest to yourself, it's the stuff you care about just like builds, because like because I know what I'm interested in and what I care about, like both aesthetically and like conceptually, it makes it so like when I lab, all the research and everything I do, it's like it's a lot stronger because I care so much, and it also helps with you know, the second thing that I want to talk about, which was being like cynical in the art world.
Yeah.
It's because it's hard, because, you know, again, going back to Supreme, like I know there was like this huge like legal debacle about Barbara Kruger aesthetic and then Supreme kind of like coinciding.
Yeah.
And like,
so we just had to switch out the battery, but then we were talking about like the truth and like letters and stuff and like inspiration,
Wavy,
where it
yeah.
comes from. And then I was telling you about the wavy letter thing, that it looks cool, you know, and I think it's a cool little thing to have in your toolbox, but I don't know if it's the end all be all of typography, you know what I mean? But
it's it's funny because you say that, because I see it all the time, the wavy thing.
Yeah.
It's because once people who use Illustrator find out about the effects extrusion tool, and the effects bevel, transform, all those
get
things,
crazy with it.
Yeah, they just choose a font from the font, and then they just type whatever, like disco you were talking about, and they just like add like 10 filters on it, and then they print it. And it's like, it's cool, but the thing is, it's like all those like effects and stuff come from like 90s magazines. You would know. Of course, like we're about the same age, of course. The audience, we're only like 2 years. We're only like 2 years apart.
Maybe if you did my age by dog years, yeah.
By dog years,
yeah.
But it's you've seen it the most. I went through. I looked through this thing. There's this event called TypeCon.
Yeah.
It's a typography conference, happens every year, hosted by the Society of Typographic Aficionados. And I looked through they've been around like, I think like 1996, and I remember I got to TypeCon year 2000, which was like Matrix, right?
Yeah.
And all the other stuff, and everything was just like the weird wavy shit.
Oh yeah.
And like
glitches and
all those things. Like it was like I saw like I didn't see Linkin Park, but I could hear it as I was like, which is like something. It's so funny because when you see it now, it's like memey and edgy.
Yeah.
But like back then in the year 2000, like people just started discovering like all these filters and effects, and so like these wavy like extruding fonts and like using like the typefaces that are normally used for coding.
Yeah.
And just
like binary fonts.
Fonts and things like that.
OCR or something.
Yeah, OCR. Yeah. That's when it was big, and that was
nerd
like,
alert.
Nerd alert. It's basically, it's just like imagine like a bunch of like giant like old ass typographers who like spend their life just like messing around with OCR and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's just like that was like the innovative stuff.
Yeah.
But like that was like underground. And now it's like all this extrusions and like weird future shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I'm sure if we were to go on YouTube right now and look up like weird wavy type, like, hey guys, what's up? I'm gonna teach you guys how to do this wavy font, whatever. Like, you can do this in a matter of minutes.
You type in disco.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, when you see all that stuff in the end, like the world happens the way it is.
But see, like, I think it's cool, but it goes back to being like truthful to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it is cool. When I was doing stuff for like this, especially like girls' clothing, like fast fashion, that was one of the things. Like, oh, you don't have to be truthful. Like, just make stuff. The more we make, the more we sell. And as an artist, like, it's sad, right? But it is true. It's like, have you seen that thing, Canva? Canva is a good example where like people used to pay me to do layouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now they can go to Starbucks with their iPad, do a pretty good layout for their like ad or whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? And it's really depressing as a graphic designer that these apps can like steal your job somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why like as an illustrator, that's something that the world can never take from you.
Yeah.
And I give it up to you because like drawing requires a lot of practice and a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And just a lot of hours of dedication. And for me, I abandoned it a long time ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it took too long. So I didn't hone on the craft. And I used to tell people like, pridefully, oh, I could design on Illustrator faster than I could draw. So why even sketch?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now that I see all of like this amazing illustration work, like I feel like such a dumbass. Do you know what I mean? Like I practiced not drawing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, with something like that, it's, you know, again, you know, I talked a lot about, we both did talked a lot about like these filters, all these people making like the same thing. It's you know, the consumer world works on its own, and consumers, like as sad as it is, don't really care about like morality, credibility, things like that. It's just like if it looks cool and if it's in, like people will buy it.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, as a creator, it's 2 years ago I was just hating on that and being angry, but to the point where it's just like, you know, I started pushing my friends away because I was so strict about how I wanted certain things and how like I think people should make, that I started ostracizing a lot of people out just because, like, you know, people go through their own things. And the thing for something like me, it's like, you know, it's for I forgot there's like this site where you can just get like fast graphic design.
Yeah, like Fiverr.
Yeah. And things like that. It's like, oh man, like people don't care anymore. But it's like, to me, I see Fiverr like it's kind of competition because, you know, I make logo types as well.
Yeah.
But it's also it sifts out a lot of the consumers that I don't want to interact with, because anybody that does come to me about logo types, they could pay a lot less for Fiverr or anything else. But because they came to me, it shows that they appreciate like the hand work.
Yeah.
And they appreciate, and so it's like, I'd much rather work with the few people that do that than like have like a swarm of like the same, like that where they want like the same like cut and paste.
Yeah. My only problem with all those things is that it really throws off the pricing of what things are worth.
Mm-hmm.
It distorts it. Like, for example, even in clothing, these things that are like let's say Off-White or something, and there's t-shirts that are like $100. It really throws it off when there's something like H&M and they're like $10, and they both cover your body. You know what I mean? And like, you can look cool in your Instagram post or whatever, and it's just like you have these extremes, which is pretty crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And it goes along the same lines with like Fiverr or like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure you get a lot of people where it's like, oh, really? It's that much? Because on Fiverr, I can get 5 logos for Fiverr. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus like what you do.
Yeah, where it just gets like 5 preliminary sketches and then 1 fine-tuned logo.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, you know, all those things, like, they definitely deter me sometimes. and like seeing all these like successful brands and like how they're making stuff like really deters me as well. But like just being able to like accept that and focus on myself and focus on what I care about, and also just realizing that, you know, I'm going to have to change sometimes. Like at first I was really apprehensive about using the iPad and Procreate, but seeing all these like social media influencers doing a lot of great stuff through Procreate, the drawing app,
it became an acceptable tool too.
It became, you know, so it became something where it's like oh, it's like it makes things a lot easier for a lot of people, but it's the same for me, where it's like I'm here using Illustrator and like Photoshop, when back then like graphic designer like Luis Fili, like if you wanted to like insert another photo on top, you had to like hand cut it or use a rapidograph and like draw it out and all those things. And so I'm sure like graphic designers like her saw Photoshop and it's like, what the fuck? But in the end, it's also helped to move the art world forward. And even though there's like a lot of accessible things, like you know, one part of me is like, oh, like all this accessible stuff just like makes more bad artists. But another part of me, it's like it also has made a lot of things accessible for people who want to get started. So it's like yeah, Procreate has made has created a lot of lettering artists that kind of make the same looking work. But then there's also a few who have like started off using Procreate and actually made a lot of like really awesome work out of the new tools that they get. And so it's just like I could sit in my own ways and just be like, oh, like sign painting's the best, or like this is the best. But like being able to like switch between like the honest like artsy fartsy self, and then like the consumer, like what do I need to survive, and then just like combining them together and just finding that cross in between, where, you know, I have my own time where I can go in my studio and draw like a 16 by 20 illustration by hand, and like no one will like look at it except for, you know, like and then there's like times where like I spend like 5 minutes on something and then sell it for like to get funding. It's like both of those are valid. It's just like as long as you're aware of the process, that's all that matters. It's like if people are going to do the text Illustrator filter thing wavy, like I don't care how similar it looks to other people, as long as like they're honest, like, oh, like I know other people do this, or like, oh, I'm not trying to like
reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's like as long as they tell me that, like I don't care what people make.
But see, like I have a friend, and it always rings in my head. He didn't invent this quote, but shout out to Kuya. He always said like, there ain't nothing new under the sun, brother, right? Like, and I always hear that in my head, in his voice. If you guys know the Kuya, like, I hear the Kuya's voice. Like, I don't know why. I always hear that in my head.
I know what you mean. I have the same. Neil's voice is always in my head too.
Yeah, and it's a trip. And I always hear people say like, don't reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? But as an artist, I feel like it's like that's kind of the mission, to do that. And then if you become okay with it, don't reinvent the wheel. You're gonna start like making wheels just like everyone else's wheels. And be like, oh yeah, you're right, man. Like you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just trips me out. I think like if I am correct in regards to like what the Kuyo was saying, he was saying like, don't try to take credit for like something, like anything you do, like ain't nothing new under the sun. Like don't think you're all like hot shit that you made this brand new thing when like it's like Supreme, you know, like man, they've been doing that since 1980. You know what I mean? Like, so take that, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. How did, I guess what's interesting is like, how did you change Koi to be able to like, I guess, well, I don't know, like church-wise, right? They call that legalistic. So like, there's people that are like legalistic Christians where they're like, really, like, no, you need to do this, that, and that's not okay, this is okay, things like that. So like, how did you change yourself to have a better tolerance for people and switch it where like you were okay? You know what I mean? Where like that stuff didn't concern you and it didn't ruin your day.
It was the thing's still recording, right? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a paranoid check. How I transitioned like to where it didn't ruin my day. It was actually self-care. I basically during that time I was going to school in Chicago at the Art Institute, and being surrounded by going to I went in with a scholarship, but going in there was a lot of people that just paid the full 150,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like kids from Manhattan and stuff, and so it's seeing all these rich kids that didn't have to make sacrifices to make art. They just kind of did it because they could.
Yeah.
It made me really cynical, and what they were doing I didn't think was interesting, and it affected me on a mental level just because I was so frustrated, where it's it was basically blaming, making myself the victim for everything. It was just oh man, I work so hard, I do all this, why am I only halfway compared to someone living in a loft, right?
Yeah.
A 6-story loft. And it put me to the point where I pushed away a lot of my friends just because I was so harsh and really cynical about everything. And what ended up happening was that I didn't realize, but I was actually anorexic because I wasn't eating. I think it was 120 pounds, 125 pounds.
Yeah.
At 5'7", it's not the best.
Yeah.
I could wear size 27 waist pants and things like that, and it'd still be loose.
Oh man, so that definitely a true eating disorder.
Yeah, and it's because I was just working, and being so angry all the time. And it got to the point where I was actually hospitalized for attempting suicide. I tried jumping into Lake Michigan one night, and then I swam back, and then I told me and my professor that I couldn't come to school because I guess I was just so I was so used to my emotions that I was I tried jumping off. I tried driving myself in Lake Michigan. I can't go to work. I can't go to school today. And to me, I just sent emails oh, I just don't want to go to class. And then later on, I got a call from my school therapist being hey, can you come? And
you told your professor that?
Yeah, I emailed my professor. I was just
hey, I can't come today because
I was because I tried to kill myself. And it was it wasn't a cry for help. I was legit just so
lost.
So lost. I was just I don't want to go to school. I'm gonna just tell her. And then I just remember eating eggs or something, and I got a call, and then I came, and then she was hey, is it okay if I take you to emergency? And all of a sudden one thing led to another, and then I was in a mental hospital for a week or something, and then being there and seeing all my friends come visit, and then after I got out of the hospital I didn't really take care of myself still. And so I didn't appreciate my friends enough. Just because you go to a mental hospital, you come out, it's never a one straight away pass. Oh, I was through that. Yeah, no, I'm not. It's
you're just on the path to
but of course there's drops.
Yeah.
And so I didn't appreciate my friends, and so I ended up losing them. Just I mistreated them so much where it's just they were gone. And so by that time my family was in San Diego, and so I just dropped out of school and then stay with my family here. That was 2 years ago. And from there,
so fairly recent.
Yeah. And so during that time it was dang, losing my friends and all this other stuff, and it kind of made me realize that even though I'm not complacent with how the world is right now, in the art world or political world, I just made it more of a goal of mine to just kind of allow things, still be diligent, but allow things to let some things slide, and kind of be more open-minded, where it's everybody comes from different areas. Not everybody came from the same upbringing of I was fortunate to have a lot of mentors, and it kind of built me up to where I am now.
Yeah.
And for other people, rather than being angry about them using a more accessible source, it's oh, not everybody has their own apprenticeship and all this stuff.
So you're a lot more open-minded to different scenarios that people have.
Yeah, and so like people show me their designs all the time, and even when I look at them, it's like, oh, it's like a little simple, like, oh, like it's not really like something that's interesting. I start with something constructive. Like I start with like a compliment, like what I do like, and I tell them like, oh, maybe like move this up.
Yeah.
And then just allow them to kind of like build the process from there.
Yeah.
Because before it would be like, oh, like I've seen this like a million times, like why don't you try something else? Like, and then just scrap whatever they're doing and just like, oh, just try this instead. But rather it's just like allowing people to just kind of build, and like as long as like they care and they're curious, like I don't care what they're making. Yeah.
Well, man, that was a lot. Like, well, first off, before I forget, like, I want to say I'm so grateful that you decided to, what'd you do, swim back? You know, like, yeah. I'm so grateful for that because I didn't know you back then.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I can't imagine, well, I see all the amazing things that you do currently from the time that I've known you. Not even like looking back into your archive, whatever. Just all the amazing things that you've done, and what a appreciation, or that's not even the right word. I don't even have the right words, but what a positive asset you are to the world. That sounds like some stupid thing you would see on like a Hallmark card, but like legit, the amount of joy that I get from when I see your illustrations, the conversations that I have, hearing your outlook on things like today, I definitely think it's like definitely an asset to the world, and I appreciate everything that you do. I'm legit glad you swam back. Not to that extent, but like I've gotten to the point where I've done some pretty loopy stuff and wanted to call it quits and stuff. So like it's for reals. A lot of the things that you talked about like hits home with me, especially like being cynical towards things.
I don't blame you.
You know, especially like clothing, and today's day and age with like followers, just like big brands and what the music, what people like, and just art and things like that.
Yeah.
You can just dig this like negative tomb, you know? So like I commend you for getting out of it, and I'm definitely gonna like listen to this again and take some notes on how to avoid those pitfalls for myself too, because as an artist, like I see it, and I was even warned by Carino today to like, hey, don't rant about stuff, you know what I mean? Because like I'm a ranter, like just stuff, like especially like when you were talking about like the art stuff and everything, I wanted to chime in and get all crazy, but I refrained because Carino said
he takes good care of you.
Yeah, I guess so.
The man behind the camera.
Yeah, the man behind the camera. Well, I mean, like he had a knife and he was like doing this like slit throat thing. Yeah.
He has a rope right here, and if you start talking about it, he's just like,
yeah. So I got kind of but nah, dude, that's an amazing story, and I thank you for sharing that. First of all, because like a lot of people hide that stuff, and I think by you talking about it and spreading that message and let people see all the amazing things that you've done since then, that's super inspiring to them, I'm sure. I don't know, pretty blown away by that.
I mean, you know, of course there's ups and downs, and so I'm not saying that, you know, I'm completely awakened and I never like dig myself a negative pit.
Yeah.
It's just so even now I still take medication for bipolar disorder, and I just left therapy today, And one of the things that I really liked learning was called the driver's seat mentality, which is basically like there's no way for you to pull yourself away from negative things. Like there's no like secret trick to where like you're sad and all of a sudden like you think of something and then you're happy. And so it's like understanding that, like accepting like these negative thoughts as like, oh, like these feelings are valid, like the consumer art world sucks and it hurts. And then like you transition, it's like, oh, a lot of people feel this way. So it's like you acknowledge the feeling, you acknowledge the fact that other people probably feel this way, because like, oh shit, I'm cynical about the art world. And it's like, oh, but also Russell is too, so I'm not alone. And the third is self-compassion, which is like, after you acknowledge the feeling, acknowledge that other people feel it, then it's just like, oh, it's like I'm doing a good job because like I'm still working, even though like I'm really negative. And like another thing is just like you take this, and it's like a visualization as well. So there's like confronting the feeling, but then there's also the driver's seat mentality, which is like, no matter what negative feelings there are, they're in the back, and like they could say things to me, but in the end I'm still in control of where we go.
So you're saying like my family?
Yeah.
How they're all in the back,
yelling,
complaining
like,
about my driving and stuff.
Yeah, it's like
stay in the back.
Yeah, but they say you control the wheel.
Yeah,
so no matter how often they tell you to U-turn or go to McDonald's or whatever, you go, you know.
Yeah.
Driver's seat mentality, and so it's just like those little things help.
I'm weird, man. That's like what happens in my head.
I mean, it's funny because it's like I have a dog.
Yeah.
And that's the closest thing I have to a child. And like, even though I tie him to the back seat, he somehow always finds a way to like jump in between.
Yeah.
The thing, he has this thing where he has to be next to me all the time, which is, I think, is really cute. But like when I'm trying to drive.
Oh, that's hard because your dog is big, right?
Yeah.
Brock
the bulldog.
Brock the bulldog.
And so he just jumps up and he's just staying there and he's trying to lick my face and stuff, and I have to like smack him back. He's a bulldog, so he can handle that. So like, it's really fun now. Where I used to be really delicate with him.
Yeah.
Whenever he jumps up, like sometimes like he'll run into me and like try to jump on me, and then I just knee him.
Oh man, that's a big dog too.
Yeah, like, I just knee him, and then I'm just like, and then he's like flipped back, and he's fine because he's like a giant brick.
Yeah, he's like a big slab of beef.
Yeah, he's like this big, but because it's like, imagine like a big German Shepherd.
Yeah.
And then you just compressed it, and it's basically Brock. Well, not, it's like just take any giant big dog and then you just squish it together. And so it's like, it's still a large dog, but it's like so compact. So it's like a tank.
Yeah. I can see that.
And so it's like,
I've never even looked at that. Like even their face, like you smash it.
It's smashed in, and so it's like I think anybody else who sees me take care of my dog is like, it almost seems like it's abusive, but it's just like legit, like that's just how you need to operate around bulldogs, because it's just like they're so strong.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, French bulldogs is different. If you do that, like you can break them, but with English bulldogs you can just like. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent about. Yeah, that's my dog.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So then, like, what do you have going on with you now? Like, what's your future stuff? Like, what have you been up to? What are you going to be up to?
Let's see. So there's things with Daly's workshop where, you know, we're coming up. We're doing this thing called I call it Bring Your Own Shit, but it's called Bring Your Own Shirt. It's
yeah. I was thinking, that is what it is, right? Huh? BYOS. Yeah.
BYOS.
Yeah.
It's we're based. You know, I'm gonna mock up maybe like 5 to 10 designs. And burn them on screens, and then like all the rest of the crew and whoever wants to design stuff can come burn screens, and then people will just come in with their own shit, and then we'll also have a booth of like clothes that people can buy.
Yeah.
And then it'll just be a tarp with squeegees and inks and stuff, and people can just go ahead and just like.
Oh, not even on a press.
Yeah, just like guerrilla style, like smack the screen onto a
like
shirt.
Super ghetto. Like,
yeah. And it's like, we're gonna have like, we only have 2 flashes and 1 conveyor, which is about like this size. Yeah. And so I don't know how it's gonna work, but it's gonna be messy, and it's just like it's
memorable.
It's like it's something for dailies. Like, it's like we're trying to show like dailies, we're not just screen printers, we're like we're creators and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. For personal stuff outside of dailies, it's I have some ideas for. I'm gonna release some shirts. I'm releasing some button-ups soon. I'm releasing a spring collection, so I have like 2 T-shirts, a couple pants, 1 button-up, and a skirt actually.
Oh wow!
And so that's all backlogged, and then I'm doing some illustrations for like just like I'm still gonna work on your illustration. I'm designing a logotype for Bebop Phelps, Pat Phelps.
Oh, nice.
Secret team. I can't say the name, but he's putting together a team. I'm painting a mural for Berry Fresh.
Okay.
Raylan, who's putting together a smoothie shop. I'm gonna paint her a mural for her. And I want to go back into sign painting. I want to make clocks. Like I want to hand paint like wooden frames and then make them into clocks.
Yeah. Dang, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and so it's like there's the clothing, then there's like the client, like graphic design, my main income, and then there's like the fine art for myself stuff, which is like I think clocks will sell, but it's mainly just like for my own interest.
Yeah, and I think that again, if you're truthful to what you're doing, like a clock, like
yeah,
it will show, and people will appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could already imagine Koysun clock. It's not going to be just a clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it.
I'm gonna try my best, and it helps because I tried making a cutout sign with a Japanese pull saw. It took forever, but now because being at Daly's workshop, like I have access to power tools and space to use the power tools, I can start cutting the signs faster and actually exporting more fine art. And so that's the thing. It's like three things. Like there's Daly's workshop, like community. Then there's like the client stuff, which is like my main income. It's like sometimes like the stuff I make isn't always the best, but it's just like I have to make it. Like it kind of like switch into my Fiverr.
Yeah.
But of course still like fair to my clients and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's the fine art, which is like the stuff that I really truly care about, which is like we're making stuff with my hands. And like that kind of helps me stay sane. And that's that kind of like the project.
That's man, like you do a lot and all of it is all amazing. So like you definitely need to get some rest and stuff like that because your days must be crazy.
Yeah.
And then like I have one final question. Well, I probably have a few, but like one of them is like, so Koysun, is that going to be like a brand? Like is it a full blown brand or it's just your merch for what you do? Or you don't even know yet?
Cop shirt.
I don't even know. That's the thing. It's like I didn't want people to see me as a clothing brand.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't planning on doing that. And so if I chose like a name like Disco or something, it's just gonna
Wavy Disco.
Wavy Disco.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want people to be like, oh shit, Koi is now
a clothing
brand. And so I just chose Koysun because like I didn't know if I wanted to commit to it.
Yeah.
And really I just wanted to print my logotype.
Yeah.
Shirt.
Yeah. Well, I think that's cool. Like, don't even stress yourself answering the question because I think that whatever you do and whoever's a fan of you, it's just an icing on the cake. Like, it's a bonus that you can get these limited edition souvenirs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's basically that. It's like yeah, it's clothing, but I feel like my world is coming into the clothing world. But right at this point, I'll just say like Koysun is a clothing brand as well, but it's also just myself. The only reason I say it's a clothing brand is just to simplify, make things easier. Because like in the end, I'm making T-shirts and I'm releasing more stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird, like, because in my head I'm always like, oh, like for something as easy like, oh, have you seen the latest release from H&M or like release? It's like it's easy to say, but it's like, yo, have you seen the latest release for Koysun? It's like it's weird, but I don't really care.
To me, I would consider it like, I mean, I always hear T-shirt artists, especially like T-shirts. Cotton is just the medium I chose to display my art. Like whatever. Like I don't know. It's not a knock on anyone, whatever. But for you, I truly just think it's another medium that you're using.
Yeah.
Because you're not limited to just cotton and fabrics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you already know if, as an artist, if there's fabric, it's like the way you printed the sweatshirt is 9 out of 10 printers are gonna tell you like, why would you do it there, dude? Like, like that is so hard to do, and you know, like, and you did it, and people love it. Like, it's cool, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, you know, everything leads to another. It's, you know, the great thing about illustration typography is that I can put it anywhere, and so it's like, I'm here at Dailies. I have full free access to wholesale garments and all this awesome equipment.
Yeah,
like, might as well use it, you know.
No, for sure.
and you know, depending on, just to end it off, it's like, you know, what helps me get through it is definitely like, and what makes me like love San Diego the most and like being here is like, even though like I wasn't born in the U.S. and I didn't live in San Diego for a long time, it's like, you know, I really love the community here, and it's like people like y'all, you know, you two here, that like keep me like sane as well. It's not just like meditation and all this other stuff. It's like, you know, I go, like, the reason I dance isn't because I want to be a dancer, even though it's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's fun, it's a workout, but it's also like a lot of really humble people, like a lot. Like,
yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah, I met Matt, and then Matt led me to you, and then you introduced me to Johnny. And like, to me, it's like, if anybody is shitty and then they reject you, like, don't even bother chasing after them, because like shitty people just lead to worse people.
Yeah.
But like, because I've surrounded myself by like so many like amazing people, like, you know, like, you know, Melissa, Adele, Bebop Phelps, JoJo.
Yeah.
It's like Harari and like Sierra and like JK kind of. It's like I can name like a bunch of them, and like, even though I came in not like being a trained dancer, they like took me in with open arms, and like Matt. Again, going to, because Matt like it's really connected to Human Catalyst and you.
Yeah.
It's like I remember the second day or third day till like I met him, he was like, yeah, like you really need to meet Russell, because like, you know, he's like a really chill guy and like really humble and like really awesome, and like it's like, for some reason, like when I wear Human Catalyst stuff, hey boy.
Nah, they were like, damn.
Okay. Human, like he says it makes him feel better as like a battler. Like he feels like he can battle better with Human Catalyst stuff.
That's crazy, yeah.
And so I saw on the Instagram story, he went to 2 battles wearing my hoodies.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
under it was an HC t-shirt.
Under?
Yeah, Matt taking over.
Damn.
It's like, but it's like, dang, like the dude just met me, and like seeing him battle with my gear, it's like, it's a really big deal, because like, you know, it's, battling is a really like
personal thing.
Yeah. Like you're putting yourself out there. You're being really transparent with people, and the fact that he's doing that with something that I made, it's like, you know, the only thing that like kept me here and like kept me everything aside from like leaving Chicago was just like definitely being safe. And so it's like, losing my friends in Chicago and stuff, and then coming here, it's like, it made me feel like, oh, like I really gotta appreciate these people, not because like I want to keep them and like they're useful, but just because like being in that hospital and everything kind of like opened up my eyes. It's like
lesson learned.
Lesson learned. It's like, people that stick around you and like really good people, like definitely really appreciate them and stuff. And so it's like, that's like the main thing that keeps me grounded. And so like being here, like getting invited to do this, and also like rocking all these like shirts and stuff, it's like, I love your designs, and I think they look cool, but in the end it's like, I mainly wear it because it's like Russell shit, you know?
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That means a lot. Man,
yeah, like, you hype me up all the time, so I gotta hype you back. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm a better hyper than a receiver.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same the other way. So it's like, you know, before I came here for the interview, I was like Russell's gonna probably like compliment me like a freight load ton.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I better make sure that like I give a taste back of medication. Give you a taste of your own medicine.
Yeah.
Before this podcast ends.
No, I hate that too. Like I don't like being in that position, but I've just learned that like life is short, and there's a lot of relationships that I've had with people that I didn't tell them how much they meant to me. And I'm a person that lives with like a lot of regret, and like I carry it around for years, you know what I mean? So I don't have a problem telling people that, wow, like what I think you're doing is amazing. I even like hit up people like on Instagram, like other brands.
Yeah.
And I used to be a dick, just like ignoring them. And now like I'll hit them up and send them a message, and I'll say, hey, you know, I see what you're doing, and I just want to say, like, I think your brand's amazing, and coming from someone that does it, I just see all the hard work, and I appreciate it, and it's super inspiring, whatever.
Yeah.
It does hurt my feelings. Some of them, like, don't follow back, or, you know what I mean? And it's not to get follows. It's just to, like, let them, like, speak wholeheartedly and let them know. So I've learned to, like, just say stuff, and I don't expect it back, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's just, you want to make sure that it's out there, and if it does come back, like, say another like relationship, you know?
Yeah. But no, I mean, there is no strings attached. I truly am a fan of your work. After hearing everything today, I'm even more so a fan of yourself. I'm really blown away. Like, I kind of knew some of it, but man, I'm really honored that you shared it. And I appreciate that you came here. There's so much about you that can't even be covered in like an hour or however long this is. I'm sure it's longer than that, but because like we didn't even hit everything. But we'll probably have to bring you back again when Koysun walks the Italian fashion shows, and he challenges Mugatu from Zoolander. The other guy.
Yeah. No. I was driving over here. I was thinking, like, I want to help a lot. Like, remind me. Like, I'm saying this because of archive. Like, I want to help with your freight and box exhibition. I think it would be really awesome to go into a warehouse called Human Catalyst and legit just see a bunch of design crate boxes and trucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like wooden boxes, like however it's printed, like just people's design. And also I want to do this thing because I want to help build the podcast as well. Like I want to create like an intro where it's like almost like a daily show, like the Jimmy Kimmel kind of thing, like intro.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like checking into legit like a hotel. It's just like you come out, and then like people sit down, and then like the podcast and setup is the same way, but at least there's like an intro where it's like, oh no, just a legit hotel.
That'd be funny, huh? Yeah. Like, have you ever seen Adventures of Pee-wee?
Yeah.
Or Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah.
I like as soon as he said that, I like in my head like, paging Mr. Herman, Mr. Pee-wee Herman. Like, I don't know why, dude.
Like you is like you.
That's how you know I'm old, huh?
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I mean, I saw that stuff like late at night for some reason. Anyway, it's weird. Like my parents, like I had a curfew, but sometimes like I would get away with watching cartoons at night.
Yeah.
And that was the only time that Pee-wee Herman was on, which was like in my head.
Well, probably because
of the.
Yeah, like he kind of had some incidents.
Yeah, exactly. But
where
the aesthetic, I guess, there. But it's just like I feel like you could like checking in with Hotel Charlie is such a sick name.
Oh, thank you.
And it's such a sick name, and I wanted to like really embellish it in a lot of ways, just because like it's cool. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I mean,
One day we'll get ASAP here. ASAP for check in.
that would be crazy if it gets to that point. You know, I just really am blown away by some of the people I've come across. And if even like one person out there is like dealing with some of the stuff and they can relate, I just think it's like such an amazing thing to know there's other people out there.
Yeah.
The same way there's other cynical jerks like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like haters.
Nebula
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah. So how can all these viewers and everything like find you online or things, or your website?
Yeah, people can mainly follow. I prefer people to follow me on Instagram.
Okay.
It's Koysun, Koysun. That's my Instagram. But then there's also, yeah, that's how you spell it.
Yeah.
And there's my website. There's koysun.fun, which is more like the fine art stuff. Well, thank you. And then there's koysun.shop, which is like my merch. And that's about it. Instagram, artist website, and shop website.
Yeah, and a double shout out / whatever. Tell them your girlfriend's Instagram, because like she's really dope too. You should follow both of them.
Yeah, my girlfriend, Will Tran. It's WHALE Tran, TRAN. Yeah, she's one of the main people that I was talking about, which was like help me not be so cynical about like new technology, because she's built like she is an econ major, but she's making art with Procreate.
Yeah, and dude, she's
killing it.
You guys.
Dude, she'll be checking in next time.
Yeah, I definitely need to have her here. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
But check her out. Get a heads up.
Yeah. It'll actually.
Yeah, you'll be impressed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's an amazing story there too.
Yeah, it's awesome because she's direct. She's even though we're close to the same age, like she's a young head in terms of like
technology,
the art world. Because for me, I've learned from like the old stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like fresh in the new stuff, and that's for her. She's going to elevate just because she's so open to like
the new tools.
Sponge, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a sneak preview.
Though. Well, everyone, thank you so much for checking out Conversations at Hotel Charlie. Thank you so much, Koysun, for being here.
Thank you.
Again, so grateful for you as a human. So grateful for you as an artist. Just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I ask everyone, please check out his work. If you feel inclined to, like when he has merch, like support your boy. And thanks so much. Appreciate you guys. Oh, cool. Thank you so much, dude.
Hey, thank you as well. Thanks for running everything. That's why